Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Bridget. Today's class, we're going to focus on opening up the hips. So for those of us who have been spending a little more time sitting at home, this is an opportunity to stretch out and just create some space within the body to feel a little more light and open. Okay, so we'll start by finding a comfortable seat. You can sit cross-legged or on your shins, and then allow your hands to just gently rest on your thighs or in your lap. And take a soft gaze or close the eyes down fully. Taking your first few breaths here to start to settle in. Noticing the connection of your sit bones on the mat. Feeling that sensation of rooting down as you breathe the length up and out through the crown of your head. And starting to find a few fuller breaths. On your next inhale, breathe in. Let the breath grow to the top of your chest. And a big exhale out. Again, breathe in, fill up. And breathe out, let it go. One more round, deep breath in. And a full breath out. You can gently float the eyes open and then uncross the ankles. We'll bring our feet out wide to the edges of our mat, hands behind us, then pressing the feet into the mat. Start to drop your knees to the right and then to the left. Taking a couple of rounds side to side. And once you feel even, come back through center. Cross your ankles, roll over your knees, hands plant out in front of us, and coming to a tabletop shape. So bringing the shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. We'll start by swaying out the hips side to side. And you can begin to bring your gaze over the same shoulder as the hip that's bumping out. Then growing the movement from your neutral tabletop, push into your palms, sink your hips back to your right heel. Then swing them off to the left, making a circle as you rise back up through table. And then reverse, press into the palms, hips to your left heel, swing them to the right and rise back up. Find a few more circles in both directions, alternating each time. And as you start to even out, return back to a neutral tabletop. Breathing through some cat-cow. Use an inhale to lower your belly, roll your shoulders back, lift heart and tail. Exhale, push the mat away, round your spine, let your head get heavy for cat. Breathe in, lower the belly, roll your shoulders back, lift gaze, lift tail for cow. Exhale, press the mat away, round your spine, let your head go. A few more rounds, breathing through your cat-cow, allowing your breath to guide you as you transition between both shapes. And start to slow down the movement, returning to an even table. Rooting into both palms in your left shin, leading with your right heel, reach your leg up to the sky, knee is bent. Then finding big circles, turn your knee out wide. Bring it back down towards your left knee and back up to the sky. Take two more. And then change the direction, coming forward first to open wide and circle your knee back in. Two more. The next time that your knee is out wide, pause here and then step your foot outside of your right hand. So if finding a lizard lunge, you can tend up to your fingertips for a little more space. Take a breath in to sink deeper into your hips, a little lift of your heart. Use your exhale to press your hips back, straighten out your right leg, and pop up to the heel. We'll flow through this. Breathe in, come forward, lift the heart. Breathe out, sink your hips back, long right leg to fold. Last one, inhale and exhale, holding here in this half splits on the angle, heavy through your left shin. You can stay a little soft in the right knee. Then begin to lift your heart, bend back into your right knee. From here, your left shin will pivot in on an angle behind you. Keep your right arm inside of the knee and peel your left arm to the sky. So working the press of your elbow into your knee, feeling that opening in the inner thigh. Find one more full breath. Then lower your left hand to the mat. We'll start to walk our hands out to the side, stretching out our right leg. You can heel toe the foot out, and then bring your left shin underneath your hips. Take a breath in, lift the heart, and a breath out to push into the palms. Hips sink back towards your heel. Take 2 more. Inhale to lift, and exhale to sink. Last one, breathe in, and breathe out, holding here for a few breaths in your half child's pose. So you can stay a little higher in the hips, or if you're feeling more open, lowering down to the forearms. You have a few full breaths here. Then start to rise back up, palms underneath your shoulders, and we'll pivot back to a runner's lunge. So the right knee is bent and the left shin behind you. Press into the fingertips to stretch your right leg all the way back and lower your toes to the mat. You can press into your palms to rock back and forth a few times, pressing your heel behind you. Then shoulders back over wrists. Bring your right knee back underneath your hip. Sway the hips out a few times to reset. Then return to a neutral tabletop. Pressing into both palms in your right shin, leading with the left heel, reach it up to the sky, knee stays bent. Then taking our hip circles, turn your knee out wide, bring it towards your left elbow as you close the knee in. 2 more in this direction. And then reverse, bringing the knee down and forward as you take it out wide. Last round. Then take the knee back out wide to step your left foot outside of your left palm. Setting up for our lizard lunge. Find your fingertips on the mat. Take a breath in to sink your hips and lift your heart. Exhale, send your hips back. Straighten out your left leg to fold down. 2 more. Breathe in, come forward, bend the knee, lift the heart. Exhale, send your hips back. Long left leg, pop to the heel as you fold. Last one, inhale. Exhale, holding here for 2 more breaths, allowing your left knee to stay soft as the toes reach back towards you. Then rise back up, left knee bends, then pivot on your right knee to turn your shin in on an angle. Left hand stays inside of the foot, and the right arm reaches high. Working the press of your tricep into the knee to feel a little more opening in the hip. Take 1 more breath in. Then exhale, lower your right hand down. Start to walk your hands down the length of your mat as you stretch your left leg out and pivot your right shin underneath your hips. Take a breath in to lift the heart and a breath out to push into the palms, hips working back towards your right heel. 2 more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, sink. Last one, breathe in and breathe out. Sink the hips back. holding for a few breaths, finding your depth in the stretch. Then start to rise back up and walk your hands back forward, pivot on your knee to return to a runner's lunge. Hands frame your front foot, then stretch your left leg all the way behind you and lower your toes on the mat. Press into the palms to reach your heel behind you, taking a few shifts forwards and backwards. And shoulders over the wrists, bring your left knee back underneath your hip. Move through a few rounds of cat-cow. Then coming back to a neutral tabletop. Hands walk a palm print forward. From here, shift your weight forward. Bring your shoulders over your wrists to allow your hips to sink. You can keep them sinking to lift through the heart. Then as you exhale, push into the palms, hips back towards your heels for a child's pose. 2 more. Inhale, shift forward. Sink the hips to lift the heart. Exhale to press into the palms, child's pose. Last one. Inhale, come forward, open up the hips. Exhale to sink back. Pausing in your child's pose for a few breaths. Stretching your fingertips a little more forward to find more length in the sides. And slowly begin to rise back up through your tabletop. Tuck underneath your toes, and on an exhale, press your hips to the sky. Legs straighten out, and start to find some movement as you come into your down dog. Pedal out the feet, sway through the hips. And slowing down the movement as you settle in. Creating a wide base with the fingers, allowing the knees to be a little soft. Find a full breath in and a big breath out. On an inhale, reach your right leg to the sky. Then start to open up your hip, bend into your knee. Heel is reaching back towards your glute. You can stay still here or start to work some hip circles. Moving in both directions. Then straighten out your right leg, level off your hips. Use an exhale to step your right foot between your thumbs. From here, lower your back heel, the toes angle out to 45 degrees. And then our hands will start to walk out to the left diagonal. So you can stay up on the fingertips, pressing evenly into both feet, keeping the hips high as you start to sink your chest down. Going really long here, we'll find a few breaths. And walk your hands back underneath your shoulders. And then we'll take them all the way down our mat. Left toes turn out on an angle. Bend into the left knee as the right leg straightens out for Skandasana. So again, you can stay a little higher in the hips here, using your palms to support you. And then start to shift side to side. Finding a pace that feels right for you. Then pausing the next time that you're bent in your left knee. Our hands will walk up our mat, right toes point forward. Keep your hands inside of your right foot. Your right hand meets the foot as your left arm peels up to the sky, finding our side angle. So you could stay here and work the press back of your tricep into the knee, or if you'd like more support, bring your forearm up to your thigh. Working to stack your shoulders. One more breath here. And keep the legs as they are. Use an inhale to rise and open up wide, sinking into your warrior two. Gaze forward. Then flip your front palm, breathe in to lean back. Left hand reaches down your back leg, right arm drapes up and over as your gaze goes to the sky. Take one more breath in. Then exhale, lower your hands to the mat, frame your front foot, pop up to your left tiptoes. Your left hand stays on the mat as the right arm peels to the sky to twist. You can stay here, start to pivot onto pinky edge of both feet to allow your hips to sink and your right arm to reach behind you. And use your next breath to unwind. Return to your runner's lunge. Lower your left knee to the mat. And stretch your right leg back behind you. And bring the knee underneath your hips. Inhale to shift your weight forward to half plank. Lower the hips, lift the heart. Exhale, press back to a child's pose. You have 2 rounds of breath here. Then gently rise back up through your tabletop. Tuck your toes. Exhale to your downward facing dog. You can find a little bit more movement here as you settle back in. Next, inhale, left leg to the sky. Open up your hip, bend your knee. Heels reaching back towards your glutes. Breathe here or start to circle out the hips. A few rounds in both directions. And straighten out your left leg, level your hips. Use an exhale to bring your knee through and lower your foot down. Ground your right heel, turn your toes out on an angle, and then our fingertips walk off to the right diagonal, keeping the hips high, pressing evenly into both feet, then allowing the chest to sink a little further. Hands walk back in underneath your shoulders. Then start to turn to face the side. Hands walk down the length of your mat. Right toes angle out, bend into the knee. Then again, shifting side to side. A few rounds in our Skandasana. Then pausing the next time that you're bent into your right knee. Turn your left toes out as you walk back up your mat. Stay facing the side wall. Left hand roots next to the foot as you peel your right arm high. Working here in your side angle or bring your forearm up to your thigh. Then push into the feet to rise. Expand the arms wide as you sink a little deeper into your warrior two. Flip your front palm, breathe in to lean back, peaceful warrior. Take one more breath in, and exhale, lower your hands down, frame your front foot, pop up to your right toes. Right hand stays, reach your left arm high to twist. Breathe here in the twist, or start to pivot onto pinky edge of both feet. Your right hip will sink down, left arm reaches behind you for horizon lunge. Breath in to unwind. Frame your right foot. Lower your left knee down to the mat. Free the toes. Then stretch your left leg behind you. Bring your knee back underneath your hip. Palms to the mat. Inhale to shift forward. Stretch out the hips and lift the heart. Exhale to sink back, child's pose. A few breaths here. And begin to rise back up to all fours. Tuck underneath your toes. Exhale, downward facing dog. From your down dog, inhale the right leg high. On your exhale, bend your knee and bring your shin forward and release it behind both wrists. Your left toes wiggle a little further back. You can find your fingertips here. Take a moment to just sway side to side until you find your center. Keeping both legs strong, take a breath in and an exhale to gently fold forward. Lowering your forearms to the mat and letting your head get heavy. We'll find a few full breaths here. Take one more breath in and release. Begin to lift your heart. Ground your palms underneath your shoulders. Tuck underneath your left toes. Lift the knee. And then exhale to three-legged dog. Reach your right leg high. Open your hip, bend into the knee. And return to three-legged dog and lower your foot down to your mat. Inhale your left leg high. Exhale, bend your knee as you bring it forward and release your shin behind both wrists. Your right toes slide back, tending up to the fingertips, framing your shin. A little sway side to side until you find your center. Then use a breath in to sit up a little taller and a breath out to gently fold forward. Pausing here for a few breaths. And slowly start to rise back up. Root your palms under your shoulders. Tuck your right toes to lift your knee. Exhale to three-legged dog. Left leg high. Open your hip. Breathe a little space into the joint. And release back to your down dog. Melt your knees to the mat. Then shift your shins to the left to sit back into your right hip. And circle your legs out long in front of you. Finding a staff pose. Then from here, bend your knees, and we'll bring the soles of our feet together as the knees come out a little wider. So the heels might be in quite close, or you could find a little bit more space and walk them forward. And take a breath in, and as you exhale, hinging at the hips, start to come forward, keeping your chest lifted and a long spine. You can work a press of your elbows into wherever they're connected to the legs, maybe on the shins or the knees. Finding a few breaths here in Supta Baddha Konasana. Take one more breath in and release. And slowly rise back up. You can guide your knees back in with your palms. And then make your way down to your back. Slowly rolling all the way down. And when you arrive, knees bend, feet come out wide again on the mat, and your arms can reach out to a T. From here, both knees will fall off to the left, and your gaze can start to work over your right shoulder for a twist. Breathe here. If you'd like to find a little more sensation, your left outer ankle can cross on top of your right knee. If you have the cross, release the ankle and feet stay wide. Bring your knees back up through center. Take a breath in and an exhale. Allow the knees to gently fall off to the right, working your gaze over the left shoulder. And then you could add your right outer ankle on top of your left knee, allowing the eyes to soften. Then unwind if you're crossed. Breathe in to bring your knees back through center. Then pull them into your chest, hands around your shins, pressing your low spine into your mat. You can find a few circles with the knees to the right and to the left. Then from a flat back, arms come inside of your knees. You can catch hold of your outer shins, or maybe your hands work towards the pinky edges of your feet to press your knees out wide and your feet up to the sky for a happy baby. And you could start to find a little rock side to side for a few breaths. And then gently release the feet. Bring your knees back into your chest. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, slowly open up. Take up space on your mat. You could stretch the legs out long or find your butterfly shape again with the feet together, knees out wide. And starting to relax into your resting pose. Allowing the body to soften into your space. Letting the breath become light. And any last thoughts, imagine them rolling off of your shoulders as you find a few moments to rest. Begin to find a few fuller breaths. And with this breath, a little bit of movement comes back into your body. You can start with the fingers and toes, and then growing that to the wrists and ankles. If your knees are out wide, you can use your hands to guide them back in together. Reaching your arms overhead, finding a full body stretch. And then gently roll off to one side. Resting here for a moment. Then push into your palms, rise up to find an easy seat at the top of your mat. You can sit cross-legged or rise onto the shins, and your hands come back into your heart space. Take a moment here to notice how you feel physically in your body. And then reflecting on the mental and emotional layers of yourself. And we'll seal in our practice with a full round of breath together. Inhale, fill up. And exhale, release. Prayer rises up to third eye, the space between your brows. Thank you so much for sharing in your practice. From my heart to yours. Namaste.